Hi everyone, so today's episode of parenting topic is kids and sickness. So my daughter is just recovering from being sick, and there's some things that I learned along the way that I'd like to share. So the first tip is to be careful in terms of the information sources that you use. Now, there's probably two likely sources that you'll be using. One is family and friends, so like a lot of anecdotal things, and I mean it might not be anecdotal, there might be a lot of experienced parents who you're friends with, and you'll find good information that way. The other source, well, okay, there's three sources. The other source is obviously your doctor and nurse and your medical team. And then the third source, which I think is a major source for many of us, is the internet. And I think we all go to the internet before anything else. And the thing with internet is that there's a lot of information out there, which is a really, really good thing, but also it could be a bad thing. It's really, really good because, you know, our parents and generations before us, they never had this resource. You can find pretty much anything under the sun, and you can find a whole range of information. The bad thing, however, is like nutrition information. You can find a whole range of information, and some of it can be good, but some of it can be bad. Moreover, it might even be good information, but it might not be information that applies to you. So whenever I am looking up health information in regards to my daughter, I always do it very cautiously, and I try not to spend, to be honest, I try not to spend too much time doing it, because I know I can just, you know, you can get, you know, the internet can just suck you in, and you could be like, oh my gosh, I have this, oh my gosh, I have that, and then you'll think that you and or your child has, you know, everything under the planet. So that is not a good tip. So just do a little bit of internet search, and then eventually just, you know, go to your doctor, and they are the experts, and they will help you out. The tip number 2 is fever tips. Now let me prelude this by explaining the symptoms my daughter had. First, it started off with like a runny nose, and then the runny nose stopped, and then it became a fever cough. And the fever lasts for 2 days, the cough kind of lasts 2 days, and it's still kind of lingering. And then after the fever broke, the runny nose started coming in again. And that's pretty much what she has, and it makes it difficult for her to kind of sleep at night when she has like all this mucus up here, because when she's like reclined, then, you know, it kind of gets in her passageways and things like that. So those were her symptoms. Oh, and I also think that she might have had laryngitis. But I'm not really too concerned about laryngitis, because I think you can have laryngitis and feel like perfectly okay. So those were her symptoms. So in terms of fever tips, I made sure not to try to overdress her, which I sometimes have the tendency, well, I or my mom who helps take care of her has a tendency to do. So I definitely don't recommend overdressing your kid. Something that I actually learned from a few nurses actually is that to not give your child a cold bath. I think the generation above me and, you know, previous generations used to think that because they have such a high temperature, you want to bring the temperature down, right? So they would give their children, you know, not cold, but like on the colder side of baths, like warm, tepid baths to bring them down. But what they found was that what actually ended up happening is that the children would shiver and actually increase their temperature more. And let me just explain, because I taught biology and I kind of understand this. So your body tries its best to maintain homeostasis, meaning that it's in equilibrium within small ranges. If it becomes out of the range, it will try to do the opposite to stay within that range. So for example, body temperature, if your body is too hot, it'll try to go this way and try to like cool it down to stay in this range. And then if it's too cold, then it'll try to move over here to make it warmer and stay in this range. Now, if a child has a fever, then the body temperature is over here. And if you're giving the child a cold bath, then the cold bath is over here. Now, to offset this cold bath, it's going to actually push this high temperature up, and that's kind of how it works. So I don't recommend, or medical professionals don't recommend that you give your children cold or cool baths. Just still give them, you know, the same normal bath, just don't make it maybe as hot, but don't let them get cold either. So tip number 3 has to do with runny nose, congestion, and kind of like a cough. So mucus all up and down here. And there's a lot of things to do to deal with all the mucus that's either in the nose, the throat, and the chest. One thing is saline spray and the suction bulb, which the children just absolutely love. No, I'm just kidding. But saline is basically salt water, and the suction bulb kind of like, because they don't know how to blow their nose, this helps pull their nose out. Now, something about nasal spray that I learned kind of early on is, in case you've never used it before, is that this is what it looks like, and you kind of like put it in their nose and you squirt it in their nose. There's 2 ways you can use this. You can do it upright and then it'll spray like that, and as you can see there's like that spray. Or if you do it horizontally, it'll be more of like a stream. And I didn't do too much because I don't want to get my rug wet. But if you go like this, it'll be like it'll be like a squirt of stream. So if you do this when they're reclined, it'll just be like you're squirting water into the nose, which they absolutely hate. And I recommend actually trying this yourself, because you'll know what I'm talking about if you do it yourself. And anyone can do it, even if you're not sick, you can do it. It's just salt water. So they absolutely hate it when it's a stream. Or you can just kind of like go like this and have it drip into their nose, which is not as bad as the spray, but they don't really like it either. So, well, not that they don't like it, I don't actually know, but they won't stay still enough for it to like drip in their nose. And so I don't recommend doing a reclined stream. I recommend that you sit them up and then spray it up. Now they won't like it at first, like obviously for like most things, because it's like strange. But once they realize how good it feels and how it helps, they will eventually like it. I mean, sometimes I have to let her hold it and say, you do it, and she'll like this and like shove it up her nose, but then she'll let me do it. So have them either sit up or stand up, but just like make sure that they're upright. And that is saline spray. The other thing is a humidifier, and this is a cool mist humidifier, and I don't know if you can see, but I'm not sure if you can see, but there's like a lot of steam coming up here, and back here I covered this like bookshelf, so because there's so much steam and I don't want it to affect the wood. But get a humidifier, and what's good is when they're not feeling well, I mean, especially, you know, and if they don't want to drink, because that's sometimes, you know, when they have a sore throat, they don't want to drink, like carry them and kind of put their head in the mist, and that will calm them down if their throat hurts, and it'll just kind of help clear it up. Along those same lines as a humidifier, now I always use a humidifier throughout the winter. So when the nurse is like, oh, you should maybe get a humidifier when she's sick, you know, I always use it throughout the winter, and it's winter now. Along those same lines is to take them into the bathroom, and you know, like maybe when you're taking a shower, then kind of like have them sit in there, and you know, so they can inhale the warm steam. And yeah, and so that's what I did. So she got steam when she took a bath, and steam when I took a bath. What I did was I usually have the fan on, so I didn't turn on the fan, or I usually have the door open, but I didn't have the door open so the steam can actually collect. And I think that really helped. A tip about that though is that because it gets so steamy and kind of gets hot, that even though they have a fever and you don't want them to get too cold, I took off her shirt anyway, so she's just wearing a short sleeve shirt, because it does really get hot when you're taking a bath when you're taking a shower in a closed bathroom and you don't have the fan on. And some other tips, and another tip that I didn't actually do was, now this is only for children over 1 year old, because if children under 1 year old can't eat honey because of they might contract botulism. But if they're over 1 year old, you can give them, you know, maybe like a teaspoon of honey, mix it in some warm liquid like water or lemon water or a little bit of diluted juice, and have them drink that. They say that the bacteria in or the honey has like antibacterial, you know, properties or something like that, so it can actually help, and it also helps soothe the throat. But I actually didn't try that because, well, I was gonna try the honey, but then we had ants on the honey, so we didn't try that. And another tip in terms of the mucus, I mean, I found that when she sleeps at night, that's actually the worst, and I think it's because she's reclined. And so what they recommend is that you have them more inclined. So I remember one time, or like previous times, that I put her in a stroller, but then she ended up throwing up, which is like totally natural because children don't know how to cough up their phlegm. So what ends up happening is they kind of like almost kind of gag on their phlegm, and then they end up kind of like throwing up their stomach contents, I guess. And so she threw up in her stroller once, and that was like a complete disaster. So I kind of don't recommend putting them in the stroller after I had that experience. What you can do is, there's in the mattress, maybe you could put like some pillows under the mattress, so incline the entire mattress, but I didn't really like that because I felt like they just kind of like slid, their whole body just slid down the mattress. So what I did was I just put a bed sheet, like a folded bed sheet, and then I put under that I put a pillow, and I played around with different height pillows, like kind of like a really thick one that was soft, kind of like a thin one that was kind of like a firm pillow, and then kind of like a couch end pillow, you know, like when like a decorative kind of pillow that you have at the end that's like kind of really thin and flat, and that seemed to work the best. And I put the the folded bed sheet over because in case she did throw up, I was hoping it'd be cleaner. And that definitely really helped. Oh, another very, very important thing, I should have said this probably like the first thing, is make sure they drink enough fluids. Now, if they're congested or maybe they might have a sore throat, they're not going to want to drink or eat that much. But it's really, really important to make sure that they keep drinking. Now, I wouldn't force her, but I would more frequently say, hey, you want some water? You know, like, you want some water? And she'll say no, but like eventually she would, you know, take a sip here and there. What I also found is that they really like broth soup. And we made low sodium broth soup, and we just added some carrots and some edamame in it. And she ate that and she drank the soup. She really liked the soup. I would just like feed it to her with like an adult small spoon. And because it had low sodium, which was good, but because it had a little bit of sodium, eventually she, like after some of the soup, she would also drink water. So that was really good. But I didn't force anything on her or anything. Obviously you don't want to force anything on your children, but you just want to keep encouraging them more often than when they're healthy to drink more water. And I think that's all the tips for this episode of sickness. She's doing like really well, considering that she had a temperature of 102 the past 2 days. And she's on the mend, and I'm hoping to take her swimming next week. And I guess that's it for this video. I hope this helps. I hope you're having a great day. Comment below if you have any other tips, or if you have anything to share or anything like that, or tweet me. So as I said, I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye! So I'm working just like regular hours, and already she almost, this is kind of like a running joke between me and my mom, but like she already kind of almost forgets me. Now she doesn't forget who I am.